had just a small taste of the vegetarian festival passing by my beach house yesterday afternoon, and we'll have a bit more of that at the end of the show. Hi everyone, Thursday's TNT. Welcome to the program. Please subscribe if you get a moment, and a big thanks to our sponsor 5 Star Marine. Let's get stuck into our news today, and we'll start with a few briefs. This one from Calsod English, their Facebook page, reporting that Thailand's Prime Minister and his delegation departed Beijing, China at 11:30 last night, heading for Riyadh, Saudi Arabia to attend the ASEAN Gulf Cooperation Council Summit that will be held there today. Video there of the Thai Prime Minister bidding farewell to the Chinese delegation, hopping into the Thai Airways jet and making his way to Saudi Arabia. And just another quick note from Calsod English Facebook page, and this is from the Royal Thai Embassy in Tel Aviv, and stating that 8,389 Thai workers have registered to return to Thailand, and 116 of them didn't wish to do so. Currently, 1,424 Thais have returned to Thailand. 30 have died, 17 injured, the 17 have been kidnapped during the Israel-Hamas war. Now, whilst all this is happening overseas, back to home in Bangkok, and the air pollution has returned. Rather strange at this time of the year. Thai PBS World reporting excessive PM 2.5 dust in Bangkok yesterday. We assume that photo was taken yesterday during obviously the height of the air pollution. And then it lists the areas in Bangkok with the excessive levels of PM 2.5. It says in the next paragraph, the Pollution Control Board have adopted a new safety standard of air quality, and they've changed it from the measure of 50 micrograms per cubic metre to 37 micrograms per cubic metre. So they've lowered what they consider poor air quality, so I suppose the alerts will go out a bit earlier in the future. And down the bottom there it says the PM 2.5 problem caused by smoke from forest fires, especially in neighbouring countries, and emissions from vehicles and industry, normally starts during the cold season and extends through the summer when rain is scarce. Well, the cold season starts late December. It doesn't start in the middle of October. And this is from yesterday afternoon, showing that, yeah, indeed, the quality of the air is not good around Bangkok. The scale down the bottom there saying that all those orange areas are unhealthy for sensitive groups, and then a bit further down there in Samut Sakhon we've got some areas which are considered unhealthy. This is this morning, just looking at the wider picture, and we can see Bangkok in this circle here with plenty of orange. A bit further down, Sattahip and Rayong with some darker areas, and also up in Khon Kaen there's some measurements there of quite poor air quality. Again, this is a rather odd time of the year to be starting to talk about the air pollution problem, so interested to know what's causing it. And we go to this NASA fire maps, which we've used often in the past. Now that little dot there is Bangkok, and the arrow pointing to an area north of Bangkok where it seems to be the highest concentration of fires. But that concentration of fires is nothing to what we're used to, usually much, much worse than that. So not exactly sure what's causing the air pollution in Bangkok at the moment. Just noting there on the east coast of Vietnam, between Da Nang and Ho Chi Minh City, seems to be a lot of fires there at the moment. And maybe if there's easterly winds, perhaps that's blowing into Bangkok. But very hard to see the fires as a major cause of the current bout of air pollution in Bangkok at the moment. It's the Thursday TNT. Thank you very much for dropping in. And we're talking tourism now. We go to thepatianews.com. Thailand welcomes 21 million tourists since January, rakes in 882 billion baht. I'd really like to ask the new governor, if I ever got the chance, exactly how they work in how much these tourists are spending. Obviously, surveys are done, but this 882 billion baht must be somewhat of a guess. And as in the past, we recall that back in 2019, the highest number of tourists that Thailand's ever had, that nearly reached 40 million tourists that year. And in an exact tally, the country recorded 21,019,800 foreign arrivals since the beginning of this year, according to the Ministry of Tourism and Sports. And over the past week, there's been an increase in the number of European tourists by 6.7%. And then further down it says this is attributed to the onset of the high travel season, along with airlines beginning to increase the number of flights for tourists from the European region. Well, that might be so, but really the high season for tourism doesn't start until, late November, early December. And then last week's number of tourists represents a 5.56% decrease from the previous week. And then just looking at some numbers, Malaysian tourists leading the way, then Chinese tourists, but that's been an 18.6% drop. India was next with 30,000. That's also a drop of 11%. South Korean tourists had 27 visitors. That's also a decrease of some 11%. And then number 5 in the top 5, Russian tourists, 22,000 arrivals. That was also a 2.8% decrease. So the number of tourists coming to Thailand at the moment sort of wavering up and down, people looking for an uptick coming over the next month or so leading to the high season. In the meantime, BangkokPost.com reports visa waiver for India, Taiwan on wish list. The story says the TAT hopes travellers from Taiwan and India will be next in line for visa waivers if visa-free entry for mainland Chinese tourists is made permanent, and that's been proposed by the Prime Minister. And he said that the temporary visa exemption for Chinese travellers, scheduled to end on February the 29th, could be made permanent. So just clarifying that there's already 68 countries that have a visa waiver arrangement with Thailand, and this experiment or this pilot program with China, which runs until the end of February next year, could also be made permanent. And the new governor of the TAT said the plan to accelerate growth could include visa waivers for arrival from Taiwan and India, as well as easing of travel restrictions for Malaysian tourists coming through the land border. And Malaysian tourists, the highest number of tourists visiting Thailand at the moment, a lot of them coming through that southern border. Let's go a little bit further south now, and from the straitstimes.com, Bali declares drought emergency status for 14 days. And the regional government of Indonesia's resort island of Bali declared yesterday that an emergency alert status of drought would stay effective for 14 days following the escalation of the recent drought disaster in the region. And the acting governor says we've decided to set the status of disaster emergency preparedness for 14 days starting today. He said the extreme weather conditions in Bali from July to October had resulted in 113 villages suffering from water shortages and caused forest or land fires in 10 areas, including Denpasar, the province's capital city. He said, we will make efforts to extinguish the fires which are still burning at the moment, including providing assistance to areas experiencing drought and preparing the equipment needed to modify the weather. Well, apart from things like cloud seeding, exactly how do you modify the weather? And if we cannot handle it properly, we're afraid that the impact will spread wider. So somewhat of a disaster there for Bali. Let's hope that emergency situation only lasts for 14 days and they can get those fires put out as soon as possible. Heading back to Thailand now, and probably some good news from voiceofamerica.com, and Thailand lifts emergency rule in parts of rebellion-racked south. And Thailand this week lifted emergency rule in parts of the country's restive south, where a Muslim insurgency has claimed thousands of lives over the past 2 decades. Critics said the emergency measures had led to rampant human rights abuses. Just acknowledging that over the past 20 years there's been more than 6,000 people killed in that southern insurgency conflict. And that if we go just over the border to Myanmar, since the junta took control, there's been more than 7,000 people who have been killed and more than 2,000 injured in that conflict. So there's plenty of dangerous conflicts right on our doorstep here in Thailand. And the predominantly Buddhist country imposed an emergency decree over its 3 southernmost provinces in 2005, and the decree let security forces detain suspects without charge for up to 30 days and gives the security personnel immunity from prosecution for any actions carried out in the line of duty. It also grants the government broad powers to censor the news. But Thailand has lifted the emergency decree in 10 districts over the years. The government passed a resolution lifting the emergency decree in 3 more districts, 1 in each province, at a meeting on Monday. And a government spokeswoman says the government made the move because attacks in those areas had waned sharply over the past few years. We can only hope that the violence in that area does continue to wane and that emergency decree is lifted in more districts in the area. And to nationthailand.com reports shooting stars from Halley's Comet to light Thai skies on Saturday night. Well, it's not quite Halley's Comet returning. It returns every 76 years. I remember seeing it would have been the early 80s, quite bright, driving to work one morning very early, and there in the eastern sky, just above the horizon, there it was, quite bright at the time. And the National Astronomical Research Institute of Thailand advises people to watch the skies on Saturday night for one of the most spectacular free shows of the year. And the Orionid, not sure how to pronounce that, meteor shower should be visible starting from 10:30 p.m. on Saturday night through to Sunday morning, but the meteors will be brightest after 11:30 p.m. when the moon has set and left the stage dark enough for the celestial performance to shine. And the Orionid meteor shower streaks across Earth's skies from late September to early November every year, peaking this year on October the 21st and 22nd. Observers can expect to see up to 20 meteors per hour at its peak if skies are clear and dark. And it's caused by debris from Halley's Comet, which passes through the solar system every 76 years. And when the comet passes close to the sun, it heats up and releases dust and gas particles. And good luck if you happen to see some of that show over the next few days. Here's just a bit of the show that I get to see 365 days a year just out the front of my beach house. And with that, I thank you for watching. Hopefully you're a bit more up to date. Please subscribe to the channel and we'll leave you with a little bit of the parade that passed by, part of the vegetarian festival here in Tham Luang in Phang Nga, Thailand.